Well, hey there, how you doing? Dave Fennoy here. It's another Wednesday, of course, and that means another Ask Dave Fennoy Anything, and if it must be 6 p.m. here on Facebook Live. Couple of things, just a reminder, these live on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, Dave Fennoy Voiceover Training. And thank you for those of you who have gotten back to me to say how much you appreciate it and how much you've learned, certainly not just from me, but from the various guests I have. And if you are somebody interested in studying with me, davefennoy.com, click on the Study VO tab and sign yourself up. You know, occasionally I watch television, and I was watching last night, and one of my favorite shows, I'm not really a game show person, but I really like To Tell the Truth. The new one with Anthony Anderson, I think he's fabulous. He's funny. It's entertaining. The celebrity guests are just nuts. You get to see them, with their shirts down, or they're, just having a good time. But I saw a couple of buddies of mine on last night that surprised me. Joe Daria, who was pretending, he was lying, that he was Puxatawny Phil's caretaker. Puxatawny Phil, February 2nd. If he sees his shadow, he was not Puxatawny Phil, but he was quite good in his top hat that he was wearing. And also my buddy Robbie Rist, who some of you who have some gray hair and a little age on you may remember him as Cousin Oliver on the Brady Bunch. But he actually was the guest. He did not lie. He was one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So if you guys know them, let them know I said something about them. Let me bring on another friend of mine now that I've known for many, many years. She's done okay in the voiceover business. New York Magazine dubbed her the Queen of Video Game Acting. And there she is. Well, and your camera even looks great. Look at that lighting. Fantastic. Jennifer Hale, everybody. Give her a hand.
Dave. Hey, everybody.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing just great. And I
Good.
always love when I hear from you. We're trading emails back and forth, and yours always say, someplace on the planet.
Sent from my iPhone, somewhere on planet Earth.
There
Yeah.
you go. There you go. So, well, thank you for joining me.
Yeah,
And
my pleasure.
you have just had a fantastic career. You've been doing it for a while. What you look like does not reveal the number of years you've been doing this. But I like to start with people. Now, how did you get the VO bug? How did you get into this wacky business?
It was by pure chance. I went to a fine arts high school simply because I didn't fit anywhere else.
Well, where was that?
And in Birmingham, the Alabama School of Fine Arts.
Okay.
And I got a job through the grace of my boyfriend's mom introducing me to Leo Toshelli Productions, just a local video production studio. And they hired me to be a PA. They gave me my first commercial, or the opportunity to book my first commercial. And I did that, and then they came and hired me as a PA, and it was right next door to an audio studio called Boutwell Studios. And they brought me over. I think my first gig was to do a Valley Girl.
Because, I could do that. And it just, felt really natural to me.
And so funny story, years later, I was in acting class with Moon Zappa, and I'd known her for months, and we were out, a glass of wine with a few of us. And I said, Moon, you're responsible for my career because I just copied you and got my first job. And she's like, what? That's awesome.
Wow, that's cool, girl. Great, good.
She's really bright and really sharp. So I did that job, and I can't forget if they paid me $30 or $35, but I was like, mind blown. And I had a faculty, I had an affinity for it. I was adept at it sort of naturally, plus at the fine arts school. And my mom was specific about not speaking with an accent and speaking properly. And the school taught us all sorts of dialects and speech things. And so and I was a singer. I was a rock singer already. I'd been singing in clubs for 2 years at that point. I started singing long before I was legal. And so I was blown away, though, because I've always been, my second dad called me the little capitalist piglet. I was very practical about money and very serious about it and very applied. And I thought, okay, I can make money doing this. Done. And so I begged Greg and Courtney. They were two radio personalities there in Birmingham, and got Nancy Boutwell's help and got them to help me show me how to do this and make a demo. And I just checked in. I was kind of the happy pest. Like, hi, can I ask a question? And I redid my reel. I can't even tell you how many times that first few months, because your learning curve's like this, right? And you're like, I can't even listen to that anymore.
How long was that first reel?
Oh, I don't even remember. It was probably 2.5 minutes or so. I did have the supervision of people who knew what they were doing in those days and went, not that, do this, not that. And even then I knew you got to pay the good people to get the good stuff to represent you. And then there were no agents in town, so I made a list of ad agencies and I cold called them on a schedule, which was nauseating. But I did it. And and then after that got going, I took what I had learned there, and Atlanta was a 2.5-hour drive away, so I drove to Atlanta and started booking commercials and stuff there, and got my first audition for a film over there and booked that, and that acting made a lot of sense to me, so that's what I did.
So you'd had some training, but clearly you had some natural talent.
I was a book nerd as a kid. I read stories all the time, so I was immersed in story, and I loved story, and I was blessed with a certain level of intelligence and connectedness. I think being a singer really helps that, and also I'm an empath. Whose emotions are like right here on the surface, so that all helps.
Okay, so how'd you get to LA, and when did you come? And
in a car.
What was that all about? Yeah, well, I understand that I didn't drive to LA first when I came to California. I went to Northern California in a truck, and with all my stuff in the back. It's kind of it's a crazy story. I'll tell that another time. So
love to hear that.
You're coming to LA. What brought you? Did you have a gig, an agent, or anything, or you just came out?
I continued to sort of book like movies of the week and things like that out of Atlanta. And then at the time, there was the only soap opera I've ever watched was one called Santa Barbara. And it was because the acting in it was outstanding. And I loved it. And this was back in like the early 90s. They didn't do these wild American Idol. They had Star Search, which would happen occasionally. And they did like a Star Search style talent search. They went to 4 cities and they saw like 6,000 women. And out of those 6,000 women, I'm telling you, my hair was huge and frizzy. I wore giant flowered balloon pants and huge t-shirts. I was not doing myself any favors because there were some beautiful people and it was a soap opera, and I was just not playing that game. But I did do a month's worth of brain programming before I went, like self-hypnosis and just repetition about my confidence and just visualization, heavy, intense visualization before I went. And out of those 6,000 women, they wrote a part for me. And I ended up in Florida, like recording a week of Santa Barbara. And my last line was...
So Santa Barbara, that is California, but you're shooting it in Florida.
Of course, because we were doing a cross-promotion with Disney. Disneyland.
Well, there you go.
And everybody was at Disneyland. We were all at Epcot and doing the big promotion thing. And my last line was, if I ever get out to Santa Barbara, I'll look you up. And so I was like, oh my God. And then the executive producer of the show rotated out. Someone else rotated in.
Oh, yeah.
But it really was validation. And I hate limitations. And that's what had me go from Birmingham to Atlanta. I could feel that I'd maxed out my achievements in the market, and they were great. They were consistent and going, but I just wanted more. And in Atlanta, I could feel that I'd kind of hit the top of that rotation, and LA felt limitless. Now, I spent a year before I was ready to go. I felt ready to go, but I spent an additional year in Birmingham saving up my money, which I knew was very important. And yes, it was very important, and it was gone much faster than I thought it would be, because it's way more expensive than you think. And I mean, I had been a full-time actor at that point for 6 years, supporting myself, 8 years working. My sophomore year in college, I started supporting myself fully. And then I just went, okay, it's time to go. And I knew I would start over, and I moved to LA and became instantly invisible.
But you know what?
That was like, woo,
it's interesting for you to say, I was very analytical. I was very sensible with money, so forth, because in the years that I've known you, that's how I felt about you. That you're no nonsense. It's not that you can't have fun and enjoy and all of that, but you're no nonsense. You know what you're doing. This step, that step, which for so many of us who are artsy fartsy, we're lacking that. But it's important. I know for myself, I'm so glad I'm not starting this business now because you have to wear so many hats.
You do.
Just being able to have an agent that sends you auditions and so forth, rather than, let me create this whole thing.
Well, the way we were raised, though, like, if you're over 30, over 35, you were raised in a very different time. You were raised in a very linear, singular time. And I'm probably getting the ages wrong, but the millennials and younger, they're raised to multitask. Like, they're raised to think on their feet and survive. It's funny, a lot of the kids who grew up in that time they weren't taught to be adaptable because they were accommodated a lot, but Jesus, they were subjected to a lot of trauma. So they had to develop some serious coping skills.
Yeah.
Like, it's a weird deal. I have a lot of compassion and a lot of respect for people, in those generations, because they know how to think on the fly and they know how to live with what they got and they know how to adjust their expectations and just make it work.
And the world is changing faster than it's ever changed before, and constantly. And people aren't getting paid what they should get paid.
Heck no.
It's a whole different challenge for people younger than us right now.
And I remember being in university and looking around, and I had this intuitive hit where I was like, uh-oh, can nobody see what these corporations are doing? This is bad. This is not gonna go well at all. And it's played out. And it's mind-blowing. That's I started a Patreon about, it has 3 pillars. It's reconnecting people to their gut, getting them what they want, and really reconnecting to what do you want? Are you wanting what you think you should want? Or are you wanting what you actually want? Like, let's look at minimalism for a minute.
I was going to get into your Patreon a little later, but thank you for opening that door.
Yeah.
How does that work? How do you work with people through Patreon?
It's really simple. I mean, it's not everybody's flavor, but for people who it's your flavor, I'm here for you. And I'm not going to say 1,000% because it's a small time investment in my life, but it's a very important one. And what I do is once a week, I sit down and read from a book that I've found useful or interesting or funny. I mean, I've read from Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I've read, whatever you think of Kiyosaki, there's some valuable data in there. Richard Dott's Money. What is it? It's one of his money books. And I've read from Richard Bach, Illusions. I've read from Jeff Olson's The Slight Edge. Like, I just read an excerpt of a book, and if you're interested in the book, you can pursue it. So that's once a week. The main thing is once a month we get together and we have a group conversation. And people bring in those 3 tenets: reconnecting you to your gut, getting what you want, and we are the ones we've been waiting for. That's where I was headed a minute ago with this, which is the current system works for the corporation and for the 0.01% who are completely disconnected from the plight of everyone else. They don't care. And I'm not going to call them bad people. I'm just going to call them disconnected because they don't have a deep sense of what life is like for everyone else. This wage gap you mentioned, like, I saw it in the strike. The strike was another piece to me of the war on the middle class, because we voice actors are middle class actors. We're working actors. So anyway, what I do in the Patreon and the chat once a month, we sit down and we talk about questions about life. Because there's a lot, I've spent a lot, here's how I put it. I did not have the easiest start in life. I did not at all. And it took a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of work to heal up that stuff and reprogram. And I still reprogram. To this day, I just reinstall new software. Like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing in life, that you can actually do that. Cool. And then I go on. And so I've had my share.
That's an interesting concept, because you're not talking about your computer. You're talking about this computer.
This is a computer, 100%.
Reinstalling new software. And I'm just going to put this out there for people, I'll say it my age group, but people over 40, 45, 50 years old, once you've hit there, so often you feel like, well, this is the way the world is, and this is who I am, this is what I do. And I've seen so many people that I used to work with fall by the wayside because they were not willing to keep up, or at least try to keep up with the technology, with the way things are. Sometimes you have to let things go and espouse some new things.
My personal belief is that we're here on this planet for our souls to learn, grow, and evolve. And change is a constant. I mean, to me, adaptability is the superpower of the 21st century. And people get to choose, though. They get to choose, like, no, that's not for me. I'm going to be content over here. And if you're content, beautiful. Like, take it and run with it. Do it.
I like your choice of words. Content, not happy.
No.
Content. They're different things. Content is life. Happy is a moment.
Yeah, exactly. And happy is a thing. Yeah, exactly. Happy is the thing that happens, and content is a commitment to well-being. Yeah. Whatever defines your well-being as an individual. That's the other thing that we spend some time on is, what is your personal definition of success? You know, advertising was born out of the fact that before the Industrial Revolution, you could only have a table if you could afford to hire a craftsman to make you one. And then once mass production happened, everyone could have that cool table or that red shirt or that, brown pair of pants. But once everyone had one, they don't need another one. I don't know about you, but I've got shirts I've had for 20 plus years. I'm like, man, I don't need another one. I got one like that. Yeah. So in order to keep those manufacturing machines going and that profit machine working, advertising was created. And the central message of advertising is, you're not enough without this.
Well, that and planned obsolescence.
Oh, honey, don't even get me started on that. You find a 30-year-old washing machine, you buy it.
Yeah.
I mean, it uses a lot of energy.
But before we keep going, a few people want to make some comments here. Marion, in Toro, budgeting is so important when you're getting into VO. So glad to hear your story. Jennifer Hale. Also, you probably know Steve Tom, actor and voiceover buddy. So glad you have Jennifer as your guest. And all the way from France, Luc de Villars. Oh my God, shepherd in flesh.
Bonjour, Luc, comment ça va?
Ah,
Ceci is my favorite thing on the Citadel.
Fantastic. He calls you the Meryl Streep of voice acting, and that's not the first time that's happened. Actually, to hell with Meryl Streep. The name of Jennifer Hale moves more emotional mountains for me.
We will never hell Meryl Streep. Unless hell happens to be more interesting than heaven, then she's welcome to it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And thank you, Dave, for allowing organizing this event. You got some fans there, kiddo. And
I'm so grateful.
As of course you do. So of course you do. But let's swing back into voiceover. And you have done so many roles, games, cartoons. Now, when you got here, it's kind of like me. The video games as they exist now wasn't a thing. How'd you get into animation?
Animation was actually, it was the craziest story. I had cut my teeth, in Birmingham, and in Birmingham there are 5 ad agencies that do nothing but small market car commercials. So there's a huge volume. So I would get in there, and it was back in the time when you had to get through a 60 straight through. And you would be substituting out Roy Buckner Chevrolet for, Farfallas, what is it?
The donut.
Farfallas Hyundai,
Doing the donut Hyundai. And the tags.
Yeah, and you had to fit it in, right? And so I learned to figure out how many syllables to go back to make those two things sound decent in the same space. Like, I learned a lot of skills on that stuff. And I was actually never allowed to watch cartoons as a kid. So cut to, I get to LA. I've been waiting tables for a couple years, 2 years at this point, and I thought, a couple things happened, but I'll skip to this part. All right, I'm just going to make a voiceover tape just to bring in some money, because I had an instinct and an intuition. I could feel that it was right for commercials. I knew what the transition was I needed to make to really land it on the national scene. And so I took the money I did not have, and I hired the best person I could find to do my demo, which was Cindy Akers, now Cindy Akers Robinson.
Yeah.
And I went in there, and she pulled we sorted out 8 different pieces of copy. A couple of them were just magazine print things, like we mixed it up. And I went in with my 8 different pieces, and in 45 minutes, she had all the takes she needed. And she was like, wow. And because my experience was outside of LA, it didn't really exist for people. So it looked like I was just great at this, which I probably had a facility for. But honest to God, 6-8 years of experience doing hundreds of commercials a year, that gets you up to speed. That's why I love small markets and non-union for people to start. It's powerful. So she picked up the phone, called Cynthia at SBV, where they're still my agents to this day. So that was in September of 93. And then in October of 93, Charles Massey apparently was in the shower and was putting together something and had an idea. To send me on the
I just want to
callbacks.
make it clear you weren't in the shower with him.
No, that was not, none of that is ever possible. I am not Charles's team, and no. Charles was a lovely human being who I'm eternally grateful for. So in that shower, as he shared this all with me, he's like, I was in the shower and I had this idea. I was like, well, cool. He sent me to the callbacks for Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego. And I was terrified. I didn't know what I was doing. And Marcia Goodman was intimidating as could be. And oh my God. And I went in there and they put something in front of me and I was like, okay, sink or swim, girl, let's do it. And my greatest move is to just drop in and trust my instincts.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And then I booked Ivy on Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego, and I did not know what I was doing. On top of that, I was completely under the weather the first day of recording, and I had ran to the pharmacy the night before and told the guy, "What I need," blah, 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 and he told me what to take. And I wasn't contagious anymore, but I was in the terrible after snotty phase and got it all sorted out. She only said one thing in the record, which is, "The cough is too phlegmy. Go again." I was like, oh my God, she knows, And from there, I booked yet another. First thing I did was jump into every class I could find because I didn't know what I was doing, and I was deeply aware that I did not know what I was doing.
So who'd you work with?
I worked with Chris Zimmerman and Charlie Adler. I worked with Sue Blue. I did a series at Voice Tracks West with a bunch of different casting people. And by then I was probably on my 3rd or 4th series. At that point I got series regular after series regular after series regular, and it was just mind blowing. So.
Well, you worked with some really good people, and
I did.
Some of who I keep running into Charlie out in the street, and we keep saying we're going to get him on, and we will get him on at some. And Marcia Goodman, Deke.
Yeah, Deke, right?
Did a lot of work with her.
I went back to see Charlie. What was it? It would have been the winter of 2020. I want to say January 2020. I went back into Charlie's class. And that actually was a thing, having the body of experience I do, and then showing, making myself nothing again, not in a bad way, just wiping the slate clean and going, I'm bored, and I think I'm doing the same things over and over. I just want to go shake it up, and there's only a few people that I really trust to tell me the truth and to think far ahead of me, and Charlie is one of them. And he shook me up, and it was fabulous.
I haven't been able to do that in a while, but I went and took a promo class with Dave Walsh a few years ago.
Yeah.
And just to the exact same thing. Let me shake it up. And I'm in there and people are going, "Well, David, why is David Fennoy in here?" And I would just want to say to everybody out there, no matter how long you've been doing this, no matter how good you are, no matter how much money you've made, none of us are ever above the idea of, I can learn something new. I can get rid of some habits. I'm thinking of Will Smith, who, when he did Pursuit of Happiness, the director said, "Look, I don't want any Will Smithisms. I want you, the actor."
Yeah.
And by the way, he's about to come out with a movie at the end of the year that I did a little work on. That it's going to be King Richard. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh God, I can't wait.
It's going to be fantastic. So listen, we both came out of the school of let's go to our agents and audition. Let's go to a studio to work. We have home studios now. Tell me about your home studio.
Oh God, I love my home studio. Actually, this one I'm in now, when COVID started, I again trusted my gut and bolted. up to British Columbia, where my sister is and my nephews, and I have some family. And my son and I bolted up here and ended up in a house with really thin walls, built in 1973, and no studio. And I just knew I needed to get out immediately and get to family. And so turned out to be a phenomenal decision, but I had no studio for weeks. And I couldn't get a crew in here because nobody was going in anybody's home. So I demoed this myself with the help of my brother-in-law, my nephews, and I put a lot of it on my Instagram. And then, thank God, when I got to the phase where everything was down and we actually needed to build the structure, the perfect contractor showed up and nailed it. And George Whittam designed it. I remember I ripped some trim off the wall and laid it out on what used to be the carpet in this space. Like, okay, George, I got 8 by 8. He's like, no squares. 8 by 8.5. That'll work. Okay, great. You know, and I that's the inside of my booth is 8 by 8.5. And I wanted enough room for a couple guitars. And in the place where I live, there aren't any really great VO recording studios, and they shoot like a huge number of films on the island that I live on. And I know some of those actors need to come and do ADR for something or pick up a campaign, record or whatever. So I built this to be able, once COVID's done, to be hired out to local people as well.
By the way, what are the beautiful wooden carvings there behind you?
Those are just these things that I fell in love with, weirdly enough, on Wayfair. And the thing you can't really see here, which is one of my favorite things, is this gorgeous Ganesh behind me. And she guides me. And actually, this is silly. For people building studios, this thing is I ordered just acoustic foam, off of Amazon,
Right.
got my carpenter to build me a 1x1 frame, and I stuck the acoustical foam in there, probably with duct tape. And then I ordered this $18 tapestry off Amazon and stapled it to the back, and it is what's behind me, and it covers the foam that's behind my monitor here.
And it's beautiful, and it gives you peace, and
It gives me
absorbs
peace.
sound.
It does, and I made, my brother-in-law and I made these sound clouds that George designed for us that are up on the roof, and my carpenter figured out how to hang the bloody things. And then I have every bit of glass in this space. I replaced all my windows out there in the room itself, and they're dual-pane laminated glass, which is expensive and worth it. And the glass, I have a window here where I can see all the way to the trees because I need to see trees. But that's 2 sheets of dual pane laminated glass.
Yeah.
And then how I get in and out are 5-foot sliders, which are dual pane laminated glass. And then I have a velvet curtain I pull across in case it starts to ring. If I'm doing music, I'll pull that curtain back and let it ring a bit. But yeah.
Yeah. So as you were sweeping past, what kind of microphone is that?
This is my baby. I've had this since 2000, I want to say 2002. It's a Bronner Phantom. And what I did back then was I went to Coast Recording, and I took in a line of commercial
Coast Recording.
Yeah.
They're not there
I
anymore.
recommend this. Oh, God. If you can find a place to go or order them online and try them out in your studio. I did 1 sentence of animation, 1 sentence of promo, and 1 sentence of commercial, and I kept them as identical as I could every time I did it. I'd do them, swap the mic. Do them, swap the mic. And I had like 8 different mics I listened to, and they burned me a CD, and I drove off and stuck it in my car and listened to it, and it was like, that one.
And
that one loves me.
It's the Bronner what?
It's a Bronner Phantom.
You know what? I've never heard of that mic.
Oh, I love this mic. I think it's a tube mic, but that's way over my head. I just know it's my Bronner.
It's my Bronner.
Yeah, when I travel, I take an AT2020 with me because I need a smaller rig. I can't handle all this bigness.
And
But, yeah.
what's the price point on that? You don't have to be exact.
I don't remember. I'm going to guess that it might be a couple thousand at this point. It's been almost 2 decades since I bought it, and I have no recollection.
And
I just know it's my precious.
when you're precious, when you mention your
Sorry.
I was going to say when you mentioned your travel mic, it's it's a great mic, not a particularly expensive mic.
No, it is. Now, I will say I was recording, I can say this now. I'd been recording Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart for a while, a year plus before the pandemic hit, and we just all scattered to the winds. And I came up here and did my first session as soon as this space was done. And, mind you, in that space, in that time when this wasn't built, I still worked, but I kept it to a minimum because it was furniture pads and ripped up strips of carpet, nailed to the wall. It was terrible. But the mic wasn't the same. So they sent me there's a little lav mic that you actually put on a baseball cap and you wear it on your head. And it's the coolest thing because I can turn around and I'm not off mic. I can talk to invisible people and it's the greatest. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Let's see. She already showed her booth. I had a couple of comments here. Rin Bud, hi, Dave. Jennifer mentioned something about the positive thinking program she had done early on. Any particular suggestions of books or programs to help with positive motivation?
100%. Check out a podcast by a guy named Jim Fortin. Fortin, life-changing stuff. I've done his, he calls it his TCP program a few times. It's gold in there. Also, be careful, be mindful, I'll say, of what you do to belong. Watch the conversations you participate in just to feel like you're part of the conversation. Complaining, putting yourself down in those casual jokes. Remember, the mind is a computer. And what you put into it, it takes quite literally. Also, when you state your goals, don't state them in the future. State them right now. I believe the book was What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter. Phenomenal stuff. It's time for people to belong to a world where lifting each other, yourself, and each other up is what's cool. Not riding yourself down and being so deprecating all the time. Like, we're not going to run into rampant egoism. That actually exists in people. People who are arrogant never have a second thought about being arrogant. No. It's like, don't worry about it. Be kind to yourself and accept yourself radically, vehemently, vociferously accept where you are. It does not mean you're doomed to failure. It means you're actually starting from a place of, you know what? I'm content. It's all good. Now let's play, rather than I'm not enough, I must get better. It's a whole different vibration, and it's way less fun.
Yeah, you are enough, and the place that you say you want to be, give thanks for being there already.
Yes.
It's we are so philosophically aligned. I'm a great believer that there's religion and then there's philosophy, and actually the two really meet. I believe that when people say prayer, that prayer actually is much more than that time that you get on your knees and, oh, gee, God, I need that money. Can you give it to me? Or I need that girl, or I need that this, and Lord, would you help me?
That's freak out.
Yeah, that's freak out. It's every thought, every word is prayer. Is connecting you to this great metaphysical force that wants to manifest what's in your head and what's coming out of your mouth. So be very, very, very careful with what you say and what you think.
Yes, that's so beautifully put, Dave. It's so beautifully put. And I would only add to that, give yourself permission to fly.
Yeah.
Like, let go. Just stop already. What if you were an ancient being who truly, like, only 3% of you is actually on this planet? You truly do know an enormous amount. You're full of joy and possibility, and everything's great. Jim Fortin is one of my mentors, and I'm very fortunate to be connected to one of his mentors. And he has a saying, which is everything always has been, is now, and always will be just fine.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. There you go. Looks different, but it's the same. And something you said earlier, change is the only constant.
Yeah, and that, I'm actually reminded, was it John Lewis who said life isn't happening to you, or life's happening for you? Was that John Lewis? Life is happening for you. Yeah.
And Jimmy Bancoli, prayer is a fervent wish. I just want to say it's so much more than that. Yes. It's so much more than that. Mm-hmm. Your thoughts, your words are prayer. Mm-hmm. And be thankful for the thing you want in the future now.
That's
Manifest it now.
That's the truth. Can I add on to that point you just made?
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I'm interviewing you.
Which is,
I'm just getting.
I just think it's so, it's Dave, and we are so aligned, and I agree 1,000,000% with what you're saying, and because the thing that you're after and wanting that thing is a feeling. So have the feeling now, and ironically, the thing comes to you that much faster. There's a great book, an interesting book called Think and Grow Rich by a man named Napoleon Hill.
Napoleon Hill,
He was
that
hired
one's
by
been out there for decades.
I mean, a century almost. And I believe he was hired by Carnegie to interview, I don't know, 500 of the wealthiest people on the planet. And what he came to, which was so insanely radical in those times, was thoughts are things. And I'm telling you, there are revolutions that happen among the elite that aren't shared, I think, because they think people will think they're crazy. 30 years ago, 25 years ago, they were all doing meditation, going, we can't tell anyone this, we can't tell anyone this. And they're all living in the thoughts are things zone because they are.
Yeah. And often you can do things not because physically you can or can't, but in your mind you believe you can or can't. And you can change that belief. If you don't think you can, you can.
Yeah.
You can.
What is that? What is that? But thinking makes it so?
Yeah.
There's some quote like that, yeah.
Let's see. Oh, Michael Sessoms just put up here what to say when you talk to yourself. So if you are trying to find that book, it's in the chat and you can do that. So your career has gone great for years. Your career is still going great. You are in demand if we ever get back to the conventions and all those things. But what if you were starting now? What would you tell somebody who's starting now in voiceover how to approach this elephant?
I would tell them something that's going to sound self-serving, but it is not, which is go to skillshub.life.
You worked that in so well.
But it's true. Like I would I've been putting I didn't intend to put myself on the coaching calendar much. But I thought, you know what, let me go play. Let me show up to this thing that I'm asking other people to show up to. And let me get connected to people out there. And I have met with so many people who are starting their career. So here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, find your community, that's really important to us on the site. Find people who lift you up, which is the tone that we hold on the site. And learn from a bunch of different people. And that's why I built this. I didn't build it. Bill built it, our amazing developer. But I conceptualized this site to be a flashlight in the dark to help. And we're actually in the process of building out. We're now starting, as of today, this thing called the Opportunity Board to connect in these indie devs who are staffs of 2 or 3 making a game. And they just need 2 voices and they don't have a lot of money, but they want a beginning actor to do it. Like we're building a place for those 2 people to come together, or those groups of people. So learn from a lot of different people. Learn about money. Learn about the business side of it. Be aware of your taxes. Be aware of reinvestment. Pay yourself first. Get that savings. The other thing I'm going to tell people is you're 2 people. You are the adult who pays the bills, pays the rent, and is the patron of the artist who is the child you. Do not put financial pressures on the child you. If you went to a 4-year-old and said, look, you better make this work because rent depends on it, what is going to happen to that 4-year-old? I had this part of my career, I'm going to say 10 years in, where I just wanted to quit. I was miserable. I hated it. I hated going to audition. I hated it. And I was like, what is wrong? It's all going so well. I don't understand. And I sat with it. And what I identified was the way I was talking to myself after auditions or on the way to auditions was trash. I was doing the you better and, okay, how's this going to go? If you don't succeed, it's going to mean this and people are going to think this. And it was like, oh my God, it was such trash talk. And I took myself to 0. I didn't have it in me to go to the positive self-talk yet. There's this thing called the vibrational chart of feelings and emotions, this pretty little rainbow cone things. And the lower levels of vibration are shame and guilt and anger and fear and all that. And the higher levels are joy and love and grace and gratitude. Gratitude's a huge one. And I couldn't get from the pits to gratitude. I was like, see, one more thing I failed at, like, so I just trained myself to go to 0. I was driving along one day and I was doing battle with the demons in my head. Do you remember that old movie, War Games with Ali Sheedy and Matthew Broderick.
Yeah.
So for those of you who haven't seen it, which many of you probably haven't, there's a scene. It's the thing when that movie came out was all about Russia and the U.S. were going to destroy each other with nuclear war. And so in that movie, like Ali Sheedy, of course, Ali Sheedy and Matthew Broderick are at NORAD. Of course they are. But, they somehow get in there and the computer takes hold of itself and launches a simulation of nuclear war. And you just see like missile going this way, missile going that way. Just the screen is covered in these white missile tracers in this simulation, and the room goes black. And the 75 employees of the high level government employees are like, and Matthew Broderick and Ali Sheedy are like, everyone's like waiting to see what's going to happen. It goes pitch dark, and this writing comes up on the wall, and it says the only winning move is not to play. So I was driving along doing battle with my demons, and that flashed in my head, and I went, you know what? Thanks for sharing. I'm not listening.
Wow.
I'm just going to go to zero. And then I started forcing myself, and it was tedious and uncomfortable, and I didn't like it. But I'd been reading my Shakti Gawain, and I'd been reading my this and all my, change how you're programming, because I had some crap programming. I had some multi-generational crappy programming. And I forced myself 3 positives for every negative, and I was just like, I had that thought, no, I have to do my own work. And I'd get through 2 and I'd go like, squirrel. But it was enough. It was enough over time, because as I went along, I realized, look, I have indoor plumbing. I can feed myself. I can pay my bills. I can walk, talk, and pee on my own. Everything else is gravy. Yeah. Everything. And
well, what you're talking about is that simple thing. We hear it all the time, although I think sometimes we don't really hear it. Live in gratitude.
Yeah.
There are things that we want that we're manifesting that aren't in our hands yet. Mm-hmm. But what is in our hands? And when we're complaining about... I was doing a gig. I was doing some work at CBS years ago, doing promos over there, and one of the voices there is making $400,000 or $500,000 just from CBS and doing a bunch of other things. And he would come in and he would complain. And this was the time when you were in the booth and all the guys who are recording you and running the tapes and all of that. All those guys are right there. You're in a booth, and he's complaining, this sucks, I'm not making enough money, why, rah, rah, rah. And, of course, he's making 10, 20 times more than any of these people in the booth. And he couldn't understand why they were a little reticent with him. Yeah. Why they'd be cool with him when he wasn't doing that, but he just did it too much. And... yeah. You have to, being grateful opens you up for more joy with other people and for more gifts for yourself. Ooh, see what you got me talking about? You're the one supposed to be talking about this stuff.
I want to hear. It's beautiful stuff. Well, look, at the end of the day, Maya Angelou, people don't remember what you said or what you did. They remember how you made them feel.
True.
And... I used to say this to my kid when he was little. Oh my God, he had some tantrum on a ferry actually coming here to see my sister one time. And he was having a fit. He was a little guy. And he was having a fit in the play area. And I just scooped him up and I walked out. I said, no. I said, if you need to do that, we're going out here. I said, because you're stinking up the space. No. And we had to do it a couple times and he got it. He was like, okay.
Yeah.
And I became aware, God, I don't know, 25, 30 years ago, that who I'm being has an impact in the space. And it's a wasted opportunity. And it is kind of an either or. Although I did find my zero spot, and even zero is much better than dragging the room down just to feel like you matter. And the thing that's one of the things that struck me so much is sometimes there's not a lot to say. Like conversations like this I could do all day long, but sometimes if I go to a party or something, there's just not much to say. How about just being there?
Yeah.
And enjoying the moment, you know?
And looking around the room and enjoying the music.
And I think sometimes people complain and stuff just because they need something to say.
Well, yeah, and it's so cool when you're complaining about stuff and you can do it with,
Yeah.
Oh boy, big message here. This one I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to read. And it's all over your face there. I'm sorry.
I'm all right with that.
J. Horace Black, Jennifer, you're awesome. Really enjoying this show. Having a positive attitude, mindset is so essential to life. No matter what you're doing. Yes, I start my day off standing up with my arms open, saying, I am open and receptive to all good. Today is my day. Louise Hay. Thank you for all the great news that's coming to me today. I often will take several moments out of each day imagining something good. Oh, boy, we got to get it back up there. I knew I wasn't going to get it in 30 seconds. I often take several moments out of each day imagining something good happening in my life as if it already happened, using as much as the 5 senses as possible. It works. If we see it, believe it in our minds, it will happen in time. Jennifer,
Amen.
Powerful wisdom. Keep saying it, sending positive energy and thoughts your way.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that
Jay.
beautiful shot of love. Thank you for that.
And so often
Remarkable.
we just need to be reminded.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we can all get into that place where things aren't working right. You didn't book that thing you wanted to book. For me, that's one of the things that I have had to tell myself over the years, to live in the gratitude of the things I did book, not feeling bad about the things I didn't book that I wanted to book. Because if it may not have been meant for you.
It wasn't, and who went to, they needed it. There was a game one time, and it was a mocap job, and a PCAP, and I love PCAP. And they wanted to book me for the lead in the game. And I was like, oh my God, it conflicts with this entire trip to Australia that I've planned for. My kid has, his father has people down in Australia, and I was taking him down there to see all of them and do that. And I had to make a choice. And Cynthia, my agent, said to me back in 1999, I was on my 3rd callback for a series. It was me and Tara Strong. And we were up for it, and they wanted a 3rd callback. And I was, again, I love Australia. I was supposed to go to Australia then. It was my first time down there. It was a trip by myself. And she said the greatest thing to me. That's how I knew they were my lifelong agents. She said, look, in 10 years, what are you going to remember? Another series or a trip to Australia? I was like, bye! And Tara got the series, but it was meant for her. But this other job, I had to make the choice, and I chose to keep my word to my kid. We're going to go. And they did not move the schedule. And someone else was the lead in that game, and it was a popular game. And I will never say what the game is because she got that ride. And that ride meant a lot to her. I took another role in that same game, but that's all I'll say about it.
Yeah. Oh, question here. I know mocap. What's PCAP, please?
Mocap is typically thought of as when they capture just the motion for a performance. PCAP is performance capture, when you do the voice and the movement of the character. We did Iron Man VR that way.
Yeah. Oftentimes, games that I'm in that I do the voice of, somebody else is doing the action, but every now and then they put me in the suit and dots on the face, and away you go with motion capture. Let's see. From France again. Luc de Villar, successing after failing is so much more rewarding than succeeding. I think he means succeeding. That's a language thing. Succeeding after failing is so much more rewarding than succeeding out of luck. Failing is a part of victory for everything, professional life or happiness.
What if there's no such thing as failure? What if there's just not what you expected?
Or learning.
It's all learning.
It's all learning.
It's all learning. What was it? I was reminded of some slightly related, not terribly related, but a beautiful story. One of my acting teachers was a protege of Roy London. And Cameron went to see Roy when Roy was dying. Roy taught Brad Pitt, Gina Davis, a bunch of really great actors. He was a brilliant teacher. And he broke scenes down as either love scenes or power scenes. And Cameron said that he went to see Roy on his deathbed, and Roy said to him, they're all love scenes. I was like, oh, so it's all learning. It's all learning. It's all love. Yeah.
Oh, what's the favorite character that you've played?
You know what? Oh, there's some that are near and dear to my heart. Truly. The favorite thing about my career is the diversity of it. I have to say, too, to have done everything from Cinderella to like, your Princess Morbucks to, the Carol Danvers in Avengers to Commander Shepard to Rivet in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. It's just that variety is insane, and I love it.
Yeah, I always have the same answer, the absolute favorite, because it gave me so many gifts. But so often it's like trying to pick your favorite kid. Which of your children? No, I love them all. But this one got rich and gave me stuff. So
right. Yeah.
Got another comment here. Question for Jennifer. What are some things you do to warm up for a performance, to get into character, particularly if you're pressed for time?
Singing. When I used to drive to stuff, I would sing on the way. Now I'll walk around the house and sing tongue twisters. I started teaching my kids tongue twisters the other day, which is hilarious. And music is a really good. I don't know if it's because I come from music, but it's a really great tool to pop me into a mood like that. And then also getting myself out of the way. I don't actually exist when I'm working. I'm just a channel for whatever's coming through, and I'm a grateful one at that.
That is a great point. Now, I do a lot of teaching, and by the way, you invited me to be on Skill Hub. I haven't gotten my stuff up.
Yes,
Skills Hub.
yes.
I haven't got my stuff on, but I'm gonna.
I can't wait for you to join us. Yeah.
But one of the things I notice about a lot of students, a lot of voice actors, is they're not really putting in all the work in script analysis.
Yes.
When you're looking at a script, what are the things you're looking for? What do you ask yourself? What do you pay attention to that perhaps other people aren't?
Okay, there's the basics. We're actually going to develop this on Skills Hub. We're going to make a checklist. What are your basic acting questions? I want all the coaches, including you, to weigh in on what do you see those as. Who am I? What do I want? Who am I talking to? What just happened? What's in my way of getting what I want? What happens if I don't get it? Also, with the moment before, I think I mentioned that, but in terms of the stuff we do, what kind of universe do I live in? And in that, who am I? Am I playing a commander where a lot of emotion's not permitted? Am I playing a kind of civilian for whom power is just not possible? There's all those considerations. And do I have any affectations? Am I a creature from another thing? So there's all that, and an environment and ambient noise. There's a whole list of questions. And I was telling somebody today in a coaching, also, I'm a firm believer in substitution. Take something from your own life. It does not matter how related it is. It's wonderful if it's related, but plug it in so your motor is going. And you personally need something to go right in this scene. But you have personal connections to the scene. I used to go through my scripts. I found my old scripts. I did a movie of the week when I was like, 19 or 20, and I played, oh my God. Hello. Won an Oscar for Pawnbroker. Oh my God.
Oh, I'm so glad you're not remembering names too.
Yeah. So
happens to me all the time.
Yes. Anyway, Rod Steiger. I played Rod Steiger's daughter, and it was extraordinary. But I remember going through my script and everything. Like if you refer to like the accident that happened, I need to write out that accident. What was that accident? What was it like? If I'm comparing it to something in my own life? Oh, that gets my motor running. Okay. And the thing about that's your substitution. Substitutions are like cut flowers. They're not evergreen. You got to swap them out when that one stops working. Pop a new one in. But for God's sake, get one in there. The other thing that I love is cover. Don't wear your emotions on your sleeve unless you're playing a character who does
that. Yes.
Even then, that's a means to an end for a character like that. It's the way they control the room. Cover. But you can't cover nothing. Ain't nothing under those covers. It's going to be a dead scene. You need to have all that emotion, all that stuff, and then cover that.
I find so often when people are not covering, when they are wearing their emotions on their sleeves, it's because they're not actually in character. They're taking, well, the words say I feel like this. The words indicate this, and but actors, people hide.
Mm-hmm.
They hide their emotions, and just because it says you're sad doesn't mean that's how it's going to sound.
There's a great story I'll share with you. I've shared this a few times. Shared it like 3 times a day with students. Do you know who Jeff Corey was? Do you remember Jeff Corey? He was a character actor. He was blacklisted in the McCarthy era, ended up doing a lot of science fiction because that's the only place he could get hired. He was wonderful. He was a wonderful teacher. When I got to study with him, he was in his mid-70s and I was like 20. And this actor, I was in Atlanta taking a workshop, and this actor was up on stage emoting his brains out, and I was like, wow, look at that. I wish I could have all that access to my emotions, like, and in the middle of the scene, I'm going to swear because Jeff Corey did. Jeff Corey interrupts the scene with this very loud, booming voice. He goes, God damn it, people. And everybody's like, it would shake you in your seat. And he said, real human beings do not set out to feel things. They set out to do things in the course of which they have feelings they do not want to have. I don't want to see your emotions all over my goddamn stage. I was like, whoo. I've never forgotten that. Never. Oh, I loved that man. Love that man still. Yeah. Even though his form isn't here, I just thank you, Jeff. Yeah.
Be the character first, doing what the character would do in the situation the character's in.
And it's not about you. We have a responsibility as actors to bring to life the vision of that most sacred person who is the writer. We have a responsibility to breathe life into that thing on the page, which is the best that writer could bring to that page. Maybe they didn't have unfettered creativity in this. Maybe they had to meet the satisfaction of clients, etc. Maybe 14 people got their hands on it. It's our job to bring it to undeniable, deep, and connected, authentic life so they can realize their vision.
You said it so much better than I generally do with my students. And look, the writer can only take us halfway. Yeah. We have to take those words and give them life. Mm-hmm. It's all in there, but we got to pull it out. Yeah. We got to pull it, and sometimes pulling it out isn't about the words.
Mm-mm. People don't say. Watch one of the character studies I love the most is Travis Fimmel in Vikings. You watch the work that guy does. It's in a way unfortunate that he's super attractive because I don't know if he's going to get taken seriously as an actor the way I believe.
Lost you there for a second. You still there? Whoa, what happened? Oh, lost right in the middle. And you're back. What happened?
Sorry, my camera gets really mad at me and overheats. And I forgot to bring down the frozen block of cheese to rubber band to the back of it. Anyway, so I was talking about Travis Fimmel in Vikings, and he is masterful at cover. I was just saying it's unfortunate how physically attractive he is because I'm not sure he'll get the credit he deserves as an actor. He's extraordinary in that series. I've never seen him do bad work. He's masterful at cover and what is going on in that head? Quantum physics? You're so busy in there. Watch what people don't say. Watch what they don't say in real life. They should not be saying things because even if they're saying a lot of words, there's a lot they're not saying. And what is it?
Absolutely. What you're saying this? What are you thinking? Mm-hmm. And give that some reality. Hey, listen, we are right at 6:58. We're at the top of the hour here. Tell us a little bit more. Let's recap. Go back to your Patreon site.
Yeah, and then Skills Hub is what I really want to share with everybody. It's acting.skillshub.life. And what it is it's a micro-coaching site. Like if you can't get into Dave's class or you don't have you haven't quite saved up enough to do a full class with Dave, or you need just some quick audition coaching from him or me or one of our peers, you can come in and book 10 minutes. You can book 15 minutes. We only book in a 7-day window, so we're not the same as a long form, real dive in deep coaching program. So come on, and we also have member benefits. It's $12.99 a month, and right now we're in our beta period, so it's free till I think the end of the month. And in our member benefits, we have a thing called a skills tracker. And if you're new or if you're not, if you're building your career, it tracks every minute you're on that site and every minute who you're training with so that in our casting corner, when casting directors come in and they need somebody really specific, they can find you by your identifiers or your orientation or your gender or your ethnic identifiers, and they can go, okay, I need a person like that. Who have they trained with? Okay, they're worth me seeing. So those two things go together. We're building our opportunity board, which is where indie devs can come and find new actors to try out in those spaces in that kind of that new world where we're all just building our reels.
That is huge.
Yeah.
That is huge.
Yeah. And then we have a block of interviews I'm recording. I'm slowly making my way through. I think we have 9 or 11 of these interviews recorded so far with our coaches. It's called A Minute With. And I sit down and I pick I pick the coaches' brains about. A lot of our coaches are AAA directors, casting directors, voice directors, and I pick their brains about, all right, you get 200 auditions for a role. What makes you sit up and listen? What makes you go, no, no, no? And a bunch of other questions. So there's a whole library of those. We have a forum where people can connect and interface with advice and sharing experience and stuff. And once a month, we have a fireside chat. One of our first 2 fireside chats are going to be conversations with us, the 3 founders. And it's myself.
And can I hear you, or can you still? Oh no. Okay, I think she's gonna have to try to come back in. Oh, humanity. And there you are. And went away again. Okay, ring in one more time. Can't you get in one more time? Going once, going twice. Oh. Well, just in case she can't ring through, skillshub.com is what she was talking about. And it is definitely worth a look. And I am so sorry I didn't get to say goodbye to my friend Jennifer Hale, but I am so happy that Jennifer was able to join us and bring so much joy and wisdom with voiceover and beyond. Fantastic. And there she is. Oh, good. We do get to... Okay. And... Okay. Gotcha there. Now let's... get you here. Oh, it's still not working. Let's see. Nope. Can you speak? Can we hear you? No. Jen, I'm gonna have to let you go. I hate to end it like this. But thank you so much for being on. And I will talk to you after this. In the meantime, if you're interested in voice classes with me,
I'm here. Here.
There you are. Woo! Great.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to come in anything but video, but anyway, sorry. Before I forgot to say the URL, which is acting.skillshub.life. And Dave, I cannot wait for you to, be in this community with us. You're a wonderful human being, and I'm so grateful that you had me on. And I could talk to you all day.
Well, There you go. Well, I'm sure we're going to have some conversations. They may not last all day, but definitely. Yeah. And listen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We always go in the direction of the person that I'm interviewing, and you just took us in such a wonderful direction.
Thank you.
So much wisdom outside of just strictly voiceover, but whatever a human being is trying to do, there was something there for them to get to help them on their way.
Yeah.
So with that, I will say goodbye to you, and we will talk again soon.
Yes.
And thanks for coming.
Bye.
And for those of you who have been watching, thank you for joining us on another Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. They live on my YouTube channel, Dave Fennoy Voiceover Training. Apologies for the technical difficulties. And again, if you're lessons with me, davefennoy.com, click on the Study VO tab. And I really do think you should check out skillshub.com. And I know somebody's got it in there. If you Google it, you will find it. So until the next time, next week, book something.